we need to talk about the MacBook Neo again. Okay, so this is the MacBook Neo. I promise it's covered in a D-brand 1984 skin at the minute, which is why it looks a bit different, but it is the Indigo MacBook Neo. It's been my main machine for the last 4 or 5 weeks, which makes this my month-ish later review, and it's also been one of the most popular products I've ever reviewed. Nearly 500,000 people have watched the content that I've published about this, 2,000 comments, loads of engagement. Thanks if you got involved. However, there are clearly some questions out there about the Neo from people who are thinking about buying it, and they broadly fit into three categories. Three categories. The first one is long-term durability. Is this thing good enough for 3, 4, 5 years in terms of the hardware and the performance? The second thing is whether or not this can handle professional workflows. And the third one is, should you choose the Neo over the Air? There's still quite a bit of confusion between that buying decision. I think, having used this day in, day out as my main machine for the last 4 or 5 weeks, that I can answer all of those questions and finally tell you whether or not I think this is the best thing Apple has ever done. Let's get into this. Combined robot vacuum and mop systems often feel like a bit of a novelty. I've used a few of these and they do one of the two things well, but never both. Thankfully, the Narwal Flow 2 has changed that for good. As you might have guessed, the Flow 2 is a combined robot vacuum and mop system. It comes with 31,000 pascals of suction, which is a lot, and a self-cleaning base station that uses 212-degree water, so you barely have to touch it between runs. But the real hero is the mopping, which is genuinely unlike anything else I've ever used. Instead of just dragging a damp mop across the floor, it's using a rolling track mop with hot water, which means it's actively cleaning itself as it goes, rather than just pushing dirty water around. The obstacle avoidance is fantastic as well. Dual cameras with millimeter level precision means it will navigate around cables, chair legs, your dog, whatever. So if you leave your wallet or phone on the floor, it will recognize it and work around it, rather than piling straight into it. On top of that, the Flow 2 is one of the best looking robot vacuums I've tested. I never thought I'd say that about a robot vacuum, but it is very sleek and it will fit into your home perfectly. If you want to check out the Flow 2, there's a link in the description and an early bird discount running right now if you want to get in before it ships. Go check it out. Let's address the longevity thing straight away, because it's a fair concern and it's a very easy one to address, I think. If you buy a MacBook Neo in 2026, can you expect it to last 3, 4, 5 years? I think you can, and the reason I can say that, even though this is just a few weeks old, is because if I go to my local coffee shop, there's still people there using M1 MacBook Airs and even the odd glowing Apple logo Intel Mac. They're still out there, and there's 2 reasons for that. One is because people buy MacBooks and fall in love with them and don't want to give them up. And 2, Apple makes everything. They make the hardware, the software, the whole kit and caboodle. And because of that, the A18 Pro chip in here, which yes, is technically an iPhone chip, and the 8 gig of unified memory, shock horror, works perfectly. This thing eats for breakfast any kind of regular task or collection of regular tasks. So email, Slack, opening multiple tabs in your browser of choice, taking calls on Zoom and Teams and all that sort of stuff. A combination of those things all together at once, this thing devours. I've had the out of memory message once in 5 weeks, and I had everything open, including Final Cut Pro, I think, and up to the point of that message appearing, it wasn't slowing down. It was still going, which made me think that message is a bit of it's a warning. It's a kind of, if you carry on doing this, you might experience some slowness, but it wasn't slowing down at all. It was absolutely fine, and that's just once in 5 weeks of using this thing every single day. The 8 gig thing doesn't matter. It does matter if your aspirations with your laptop are much more than regular tasks. If you want to get into 4K video editing and music production and LLM AI coding, then this isn't the laptop for you. In fact, if you're thinking about specs, as MKBHD said, this isn't the laptop for you. You need to go for the Air or the Pro. But if you do everyday stuff on your laptop and you don't go into those creative and development realms, this will last you years. If it doesn't, come back here in 5 years' time and tell me off. The second common question is, can the MacBook Neo handle professional workflows? And I need to have a bit of a rant here, because there's an element of superiority in the comment sections about this. And it is from a minority, thankfully, but those people seem to suggest that this is just for people who aren't that serious with their laptop, and it's a bit patronizing. People say things like, oh yeah, I'd get one for my mum, but for me, MacBook Pro all day. My kid, I'll get them a MacBook Neo, but nah, For me, it's the Air. It's a case of, if you're getting the Neo, you're not serious. Well, I run this this is my business. I founded this business in 2020. It's got a team of people now, and I've been using this to run this business and ensuring that we're getting content out, people are getting paid, and we're bringing in revenue. For me, that makes this a professional machine. It entirely depends on what you define as being professional use. And for you, that might be the same thing as me, which is a business owner and content creator, or it might be development and media production and all that sort of stuff. And if that is your definition of professional use, then this isn't for you, obviously. You need, at the very minimum, a MacBook Air, or probably a MacBook Pro. So that question of whether or not this is suited to professional use depends on your definition of professional use. And if for you that means running a business, don't feel like you're stepping down to a toy because you're going for the MacBook Neo. It is more than capable of running a business. Just don't read Reddit threads because they tell you that you're wrong and that you're not. The third common concern or question about the MacBook Neo is, should you buy the MacBook Air instead? This is all about buyer's remorse, which no one wants. It's a horrible thing. If you buy the MacBook Neo in 3 months' time, if you suddenly think, I should have spent a bit more and gone for the MacBook Air, that's horrible. Equally, if you go for the MacBook Air and then you see your mate's MacBook Neo and think, why didn't I just save myself $200-300 dollars, whatever, and get the Neo instead? To avoid that, I've come up with a little saying, a little tagline about the MacBook Air, which I'm very proud of, and I need to read out because I can't remember it. The Air is the Pro MacBook for people who don't need a MacBook Pro. Mark Ellis, 2026. What I mean by that is, if the MacBook Pro is just too expensive and too capable and you don't need that, this is the one to get. And the reason I say that is because you're looking at the MacBook Pro thinking, I do want to do video editing, I need to do coding, or whatever it is. I'm either a professional user for those tasks or I'm a very serious hobbyist. This is the one to get because you're not even really thinking about this. This has appeared out of nowhere. It's this lovely looking and very tempting in terms of price MacBook that has kind of burst onto the scene and said, hey, look at me, I come in indigo and citrus as well. You weren't thinking about this originally. You were thinking about Pro or this. And because of that, just get the Air. By the way, the backlit keyboard, I've had 2 instances where it's been a little bit annoying. The first one is on a plane where the lights went down and they were turned off because it was sleep time. And it was tricky to see the keys. The second time was when I was sat on the stairs waiting for my son to fall asleep. He's 3 years old and sometimes we have to do that. Parents, you know what I'm talking about. It was very dark on the stairs and I couldn't see all of the keys. However, when that's happened on those very rare occasions, it's been a case of not being able to see the function keys. I can touch type everything else, so it's not really an issue. And interestingly, the overwhelming majority of comments I've received about the lack of a backlit keyboard is defending Apple's decision on that. People are basically saying, surely everyone can touch type in 2026, and also the people who actually use MacBooks in lecture theatres, which apparently are pitch black according to the people who hate the fact this doesn't have a backlit keyboard. The people who do actually sit in those lecture theatres have confirmed they are not shrouded in darkness. Went off topic a bit there, but I think the decision between these two is easier than you think. We'll link to the other video at the end of this one, but there's one last thing to talk about. Is the MacBook Neo the best thing that Apple has ever done? Yes, it stole the crown from the M4 Mac Mini, in my opinion, because it has a display, it has a keyboard, and it has a trackpad. It's the full package. It's incredibly affordable for a MacBook, and it opens up macOS to a much bigger audience, and it is light years ahead of Windows competition. I don't care what people say, this is so much better. It will last longer, it's faster, it's more capable, it's better built. It is the best thing Apple has ever done. However, it may not be for you, which is why I recommend watching my comparison between the MacBook Neo and the MacBook Air, and also my brand new MacBook buying guide. We'll link to all of that stuff in the description. In the meantime, get involved in the comments. Let me know what you think about the MacBook Neo, if you're going for that or something else. I'll get involved as well. And if you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, you know what to do.